We are live. Welcome back to the Hotep Jesus channel on YouTube. I have a very special guest with me today. A brother that is a part of our TPUSA extended family. Goes by the name of Luso Michael. You might know him on Twitter as official Black Mike. How you doing, my brother?
Doing well, man. How are you?
Oh, what's today? Monday, Labor Day. A whole lot of stuff has gone down with the whole Nike and Kaepernick thing. We're gonna get into that in a little bit. But
Yeah.
my Monday's doing great. Before we get into some of the hard hitting questions, let's talk about you and what your mission is here.
Yeah. So I have a new talk show coming out called Hard Talks. The premise of it basically is I go to a lot of protests. I go to a lot of rallies. As if you guys check out my YouTube official Black Mike, you'll see that. And I talk to a lot of people there, and they say it's just a lot of people screaming at each other. You know, everyone's angry, not really a lot of dialogue. And I've had great conversations with those on the left, liberals, and they say we need more of that. So the premises behind that was, how do we get people to come together and talk about these partisan issues in a civil, a very civil way? So the premise was, let me get people from different communities, let me get them together, and let me talk about certain things. And things like, okay, is Donald Trump racist? Stereotypes within the Black community. Is it okay to call Black conservatives coons, Uncle Toms, whatnot? So I'm very excited because we just did the first episode this past Saturday. Joy Villa was on it, and it was a very good conversation. So the episode should be out in a couple weeks.
That's dope. Yeah, Joy, me and Joy Villa follow each other. Very nice young
Yeah.
lady. I'm sure the people on this stream are pretty familiar with her. So partisanship, conversation with the left. Oh my God, I know that's got
Yeah.
to be damn near difficult. How,
It is
like,
difficult.
yeah, like, so who from the left is coming on? Because I have not been able to get a single conversation with anyone from the left with any notoriety.
Yeah. So my show focuses a lot on the common folk, civilians.
Yeah.
So it was the first episode, so I got a lot of friends, people I knew that were willing to come on. Of course, people bailed, but most of the people that bailed were those on the left. So yeah, I know what you mean. It's very hard to get people on the left to sit down and talk with you, especially those with notoriety. So I'm starting with just conservatives that I know as special guests, and then having them talk with the everyday average person, which I think brings some authenticity to it, because you're talking to the average citizen. You're not talking necessarily with people with a huge following, but people who these are the people who go on your comment section, and are saying things. Like, oh, you're Uncle Tom. You need to stop saying this stuff. You need, you're a house slave. These are those people. So getting those people on the show and saying, hey, like, you have opinions. Let's talk about these things. I think that brings some authenticity to it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been inundated with those type of comments as well. A lot of pushback, and I always say, I'm like, look, I understand you have gripes with me and my platform and the things I say. So I'm like, come on my YouTube show and let's talk live. And I don't get a single one. They always either block me, don't respond, or decline and say, I'm not talking to you. You're a coon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those type of things. So I imagine it's going to be very difficult with your project. I'll do anything I can to help. But yeah, I think it's smart to start with friends, because a lot of our friends may be left, but they're more likely to come on the show because you have that close relationship with them.
Yeah.
I just find it funny that, we can get the right wing to the table. We can't get the left to the table. And I feel like it's some sort of crybabiness to that, some sort of immaturity, pure emotion and no logic.
Yeah, and that was the premise of the show in the first place. Like, how do we get people together to talk? Because if you can't just say, Black men are being targeted by white cops, and then that's it, and then there's no conversation. You can't just say that. So the thing is, like, what us on the right, the conservatives, are saying, like, it's not that we don't believe racism exists. Is that that's a very, very deep and broad statement, and we have to talk about that. But when you question it, you're like, oh, whoa, what's going on, brother? You're not with the movement. You're like, are you a coon? Like, what's going on? And it's like, no, I I just want to sit down and talk about this very important issue. And they start pushing you back, blocking you on Twitter, attacking you on Instagram and whatnot. And hopefully the premise of the show, people, it'll be an example to people say, hey, these are people from different political ideologies coming together to have a conversation. You should pick up on that and you should do it too. So hopefully as more episodes come out, more people say, hey, you know what, maybe I should talk, you know. And what was great about filming was that a lot of us had more in common than we thought. I thought it was going to be, you know, somewhat heated, everyone going back and forth, but there was actually a lot in common that we all had, you know, when it came to policies and beliefs about the Black community. It's just that because they've probably never been in a situation where they actually sat down and talked with someone who was on the opposite side of the political spectrum, they never realized that. They never realized that, hey, you know, I agree with you on a lot of these issues. You know, actually, a lot of them actually don't believe Donald Trump is racist. It's just that that narrative is being pushed by the mainstream media. And, you know, no one really talks about it. So you don't really get people's actual opinions on that topic.
Yeah, that's the thing. You know, if we could just get everybody to the table to talk, a lot of the issues that we have, you know, especially when it comes to policy, could be sorted out and we could come to some sort of agreement. The problem is the only thing people see is the MAGA hat, Trump, racism, and white supremacy, which just kind of closes the door to dialogue, which I just happen to hate.
And that's the mainstream media's fault.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. For anybody watching right now, if you want to ask a question, hit the super chat, donate. Also, I have my fake news, MAGAsuperstore.com to get your CNN fake news t-shirts to expose fake news. I hate the fake news. You know, people ask me why I like Donald Trump. It's because he's calling out the mainstream media. Yeah. The mainstream media has been corrupt for so long that somebody has to call it out. And I love that he's the first person to actually call him out. If you go look at previous, I want to say, it was an interview with Michelle Obama, and they asked her, you know, what do you think contributed to Barack Obama getting elected? And she said, she said, we had a lot of help from the media. We had a lot of help from the media. She was very honest and open about that. And you see that the media is mostly left-wing heavy.
Less than 12% identify as Republicans within the media.
Yeah. So how old are you? Where are you from?
I'm 25. I'm from Hollywood, California.
Okay. Born and raised?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, cool. So when we talk about this whole partisan thing, do you see that free speech is dying? The First Amendment? Do you think the First Amendment is threatened with everything that's happening, the technorati and Silicon Valley and the media?
So I think I don't think it's dying. I think the way our system is set up is that the First Amendment and the Second Amendment, if you want to bring it in, it flourishes the more it's attacked. So the more you have people criticizing the First Amendment, criticizing the Second Amendment, things like this, we live in a society where the Founding Fathers knew things like this would happen. And you even see it, like people attacked the NRA, the Second Amendment, and what happened? More people start signing up for the NRA. Same thing with free speech. You know, people are attacking free speech. What's happening? More people are speaking out more, especially, you know, the past two presidential elections, we have more people involved expressing their opinions than ever before, you know, like all this was happening under a time where, you know, conservatives are being silenced on social media. Free speech is always a hot topic, whatnot. You go on college campuses and there's a specific narrative that they push when it comes to free speech. Ben Shapiro can't go talk in certain places because, you know, he's right wing. But at the same time, you see that free speech is still flourishing under it, if not better, because people are speaking out more. So I don't think it's under attack. I think people are realizing, saying, hey, you know, I'm not a Trump fan and I'm not conservative, but I see the clear bias. I see what's happening in our nation. And I have a lot of friends who have said that to me.
That's a very interesting take. And in some ways, I think a lot of people do agree with you, because when they tried to cancel Donald Trump, he just got more popular. You know, every time they try to cancel somebody, got more popular. You know, Joy Villa was benefited from that. You know, they tried to cancel her. She went #1 on iTunes.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. That's definitely something that's happening. I think that's a product of the silent majority. Now you're a Black conservative. You identify as a Black conservative, correct?
Yeah. Correct.
Have you always been black conservative, or did you have a red pill moment?
So I don't think I had a red pill moment. I think I was always conservative, and this is how I think a lot of people are. I think a lot of people are conservative and they didn't know it. I grew up in a Nigerian household, but I grew up in America, so basic communities, normal communities, and I understood and I saw the idea of, okay, if you're black, I'm black, I should support Barack Obama, I should support, certain things. But then as I got older, went to college, started listening to more podcasts, started educating myself more, it was like, hey, like, I agree with this issue. Hey, like, yeah, I agree with that issue. And it wasn't like, oh, they're changing my mind, like listening to Ben Shapiro or Steven Crowder or Jordan Peterson, just, Candace Owens and whatnot, Charlie Kirk. They weren't changing my mind. They were just affirming what I already believed. And whatever, I was like, yeah, like, I agree with that. So it was very interesting for my personal take. It was like, and I think it might come from my Judeo-Christian background. I was pretty conservative as a person already. So as I just got older and just started educating myself more and learning more, it was more of a, oh, I guess I'm conservative kind of thing. Not oh, I'm Democrat and then now I'm changing to Republican. It was just like, oh yeah, these are things that I've always kind of believed growing up. Of course, when you're a lot younger, you don't have, the phrases and the names to call yourself. But as you get older, it's like, hey, these are conservative values. So now I identify myself as a conservative.
Yeah, same here. Absolutely. I think the black community as a whole is conservative and doesn't even know it. It's just that when we go to the ballot, we end up just voting for the left. Some people say, especially black people, they say, oh, Republicans can't help black people, or Donald Trump can't help black people. What's your rebuttal to that? What's your response to that?
I think that's coming from a place of ignorance. They don't know. They're believing them. And this is where we're talking about the mainstream media. The mainstream media is pushing a narrative that's not true. And it's almost as if they care more about the narrative than the facts. So when they say things like Donald Trump is racist, those are very specific. You have to give very specific notions and claims how he's racist. So if you just go out in public, go to a protest, and you have people screaming, Donald Trump is racist, and you ask one question, how? Give me one example of how he's racist. They can't tell you anything because there isn't an actual, like, he didn't create the poll tax 2 or, or Jim Crow law 2 or something like that. He hasn't done anything, so it's just coming from ignorance. Donald Trump, he hasn't done anything towards the gay community, hasn't done anything towards the black community, hasn't done anything specific towards any community in general, but he's done things for the nation as a whole that benefits all people, no matter, what background you're from.
So what specifically can black people look forward to if they were to go to the ballot box and vote for Republicans or Donald Trump? Is there anything specific as far as policy is concerned that they can look forward to?
I think they can look forward to small businesses. I think the black community needs to invest in small businesses. I think that's how we elevate, the black community, get them out of the ghettos, is by giving power to the communities. You look at any other communities, they start businesses. You go to Asian communities. Why are Asians the richest people in the nation? Because every single Asian family starts a small business. And then they have money to pay for the kids' college. They're all about sending their children to college. Harvard right now, is denying Asian students, because they're getting too many Asian student applicants, So
how do you feel about
that? Well, I mean, if it's supposed to be based on smarts and how smart you are in SATs and whatnot, then, they shouldn't do that. If they want to be a school that, only accepts certain types of people, then they need to change the rules. They can't say the rules is if you're the smartest, you get in, and then not accept people if they're the smartest. So it's if they're being honest about it, then that's a totally different story. But their system is set up that whoever's smartest gets in. But back to what blacks can look forward for Trump is for the American people. And if black people will stop seeing themselves as just black people and start seeing themselves as Americans, then they'll start to flourish. But right now, the mainstream media is telling them that they're black, and being black is a problem. And if you're a problem, you're a victim. Your main concerns is, if you're gonna go home to your parents. LeBron James said he's afraid if his son's gonna come home. It's like, really? Like, where do you live, LeBron? like, what do you mean you're afraid your son's not gonna come home? So Black people need to stop buying into the lie and start living as Americans, as almost every white person does, and Asians live as Americans too, and that's why you see them flourish.
Why do you think LeBron does that? Like, pushes that narrative, that left-wing victim mentality?
Again, it's ignorance. LeBron is not an expert in the federal government. He doesn't study politics every day and night. He doesn't study the Constitution. He's not a lawyer. He's a basketball player, a good basketball player at that. So if I start asking him about basketball drills, like which drills are gonna make me a better basketball player, or which team is gonna win the NBA playoffs, this next coming year, LeBron, like, yeah, I would take LeBron's word for it because that's his profession. He breathes basketball. But if you start asking him about politics, I'm not going to really listen to him. So when he says statements like, I'm afraid if my son will come home. Okay, LeBron, again, where do you live? You don't live in the ghetto, LeBron. You send your son to a private school, most likely. You probably at certain times have some kind of security for your child, because you're LeBron, people might be out to get you, for money. Like here's the thing, people don't live their lives like, they talk about all this oppression, but they don't live their lives like it. Especially people like, LeBron, Colin Kaepernick, and whatnot. All these very privileged Black individuals that talk about oppression, they don't live their lives like that because they don't need to. So it's out of ignorance. What are you talking about, LeBron? Like, show me your 50-page thesis on how the government works. He doesn't do that.
Yeah. So you don't look at him as a political intellectual. I totally agree. I like that response. Kanye said something similar to what you said last week on Chicago radio. And he basically said something like, if Black people stop looking at themselves as not having equity in America, he was like, I just bought 300 acres, for $7 million. You can buy America. It's part of the American dream. So I totally agree with what you said here. Now, today, Colin Kaepernick's ad with Nike exploded on Twitter, and the right and the left were throwing the blows.
Yeah.
Have you seen that ad?
Yeah. So is there a full ad or is it just that picture? I'm only seeing that picture going around, but is there supposed to be like a minute video or something?
Well, I'm in marketing and there's going to be a video campaign. Like, they don't just throw pictures together usually.
Yeah.
Usually there's a whole campaign behind it. So, maybe he's got his own shoe coming. We're probably going to see, I think the NFL is going to do something. They said this before. The NFL said something like, tell us what you want us to do to raise awareness. Then you guys don't have to sit. We'll just put it in, to our commercial space. So my guess here is that they grab Kaepernick and then they run Kaepernick's Nike commercial during the thing. It eases up the tension on the NFL and then makes Black people happy.
Yeah,
that's my theory. How do you feel about Kaepernick kneeling down and Trump saying sons of bitches and all of that?
So anyone listening, I would highly advise, this isn't a paid ad, but Ben Shapiro interviews Clay Travis, who's a sports commentator. He's basically the guy who said, I believe in two things, the First Amendment and boobs. And him and Ben have a really great conversation on just ESPN, sports and politics and whatnot. But that's a good podcast to listen to if you want to listen to more about that. But my personal opinion is, and I wrote a couple of articles on my school's campus newspaper about this, is Colin Kaepernick, he doesn't make sense. I don't know what he's protesting. And people always say, yeah, he's not protesting the flag. Yeah, I get that. I know he's not protesting the flag, or they're saying it's not about the flag. Yeah, I get that, but I still don't know what you're protesting. So he started kneeling under the Obama administration, right? And Obama was president. black president. Loretta Lynch was the attorney general. You know, so he's protesting black police brutality against blacks, but how is there some kind of systemic attack towards blacks when you have a black president, you have a black attorney general, they're already doing internal independent investigations on police shootings already. They were doing that. So what exactly are you protesting? You know, and come to find out, even during that time, you know, did you know he didn't vote?
Who, Kaepernick?
Yeah, he didn't vote. So what the heck do you want? Like, you want change, but you're not gonna go vote?
Yeah.
You're not. So, and it's amazing how, like, if there is like a systemic racism within the black community, why aren't these celebrities pushing for more blacks to become cops, for blacks to run for office, for blacks to go vote? Why aren't they pushing for blacks to do that? But they're pushing them to go onto the streets and burn American flags. You know, I was at Maxine Waters' office. I don't know if you saw the video where an independent journalist was chased out, and then they stole American flag and they burned it and started dancing around it. I don't know if you saw that video. I was there. My friend Elijah Schaefer from Slightly Offensive, he was the one who was attacked and chased out. And I was recording it while they were, you know, doing all those things. And it's like, these are individuals who, they're just angry. They're just out in the streets protesting, you know, something that there's no tangible evidence for it. Like, if they're protesting, like, I don't know, gay marriage or something like that, it's like, okay, like, that's something I can actually see, but that's not what's happening. They're attacking something that you don't really know. It's a very broad statement. It's a very broad, you know, claim. That's why it goes back to my show Hard Talks, when it's like, you can't just make these claims and then not want to talk about it. You know, you can't just make these claims and then anyone who opposes you is a racist. So, like, anyone who doesn't like what Colin Kaepernick is doing, they're racist, they're bigots, they hate black people, they hate all sorts of people, and they don't know what they're talking about. If you're black and you don't agree with him, you're a coon, you're Uncle Tom, you're a house slave, and it's just ridiculous. So yeah, it doesn't make sense. I don't know what he's protesting, and the fact that he didn't vote shows me that he doesn't really care. You know, and you have, of all the opportune times, the thing about protesting is that you want it to be effective. And if it's not effective, choose another means of protesting. Don't be stubborn and keep doing that form of protesting. The kneeling wasn't an effective form of protesting, and people are getting upset about it. If look at all the different types of protests back in the day, especially the civil rights movement, the bus boycott, that was a good protest.
It was tied to finance.
Yeah, it actually made a difference. The things about these athletes is that we already know ESPN, NFL, NBA, sports is losing money. We already know that. The reason why these athletes aren't feeling it is because they have contracts. So they're not feeling it in their paychecks. But if there was some type of change where they were losing money, you know, in their paychecks, I promise you, the other athletes will be telling Kaepernick to shut up. They'll be telling LeBron, hey, LeBron, don't say that, because I'm losing a paycheck. I'm not an A-list star. Yeah. I'm not Steph Curry. I'm not LeBron James. I'm not Kobe. You know, yeah. I'm in between A League and B League, you know, like, and I'm A League right now. I want to make money. And because you keep opening your mouth, I'm losing money. They wouldn't be doing that, you know? So right. It's just interesting how they operate.
So a lot of black people are going to say, it's not about all of that. It's about raising awareness. You know, we have to raise awareness. What do you say to that?
Well, you can't raise awareness when half your viewership isn't watching the NFL anymore. Like, who's seen the kneeling? No one. People aren't watching anymore. They're not watching. And it's funny how Nike is shooting itself in the foot, because the same way the NFL is losing money, you see these paid partners on television lost over $600 million, you know, because of what's happening. You know, you already know the owners are feeling the money, and the players haven't felt the money yet. But if this continues on, the players are going to start filling it in their paychecks, because future contracts are going to be, you know, under fire. And that's why no one took Kaepernick. If, like, there's nothing wrong with Kaepernick not being signed if it's because of his political views, because it's affecting the business. They're losing. If it's true that the paid partners have lost over $600 million because of what's going on, what ESPN has made a goal this year to talk less about politics, and they just fired I don't know if it's a woman or a man, but they just fired someone who was super political on ESPN because they're trying to go less political.
Jamel Hill.
Yeah. There we go. Because it's losing money. You know, I don't think people are realizing that the NFL is a business. It's not a walk in the park. You know, Kaepernick is an employee. He's an employee. He's a team member. He's not the CEO of the NFL.
Yeah.
He has no claim. If the NFL really did keep him out of the NFL because of his political views, that is completely viable. That is okay. Because you know how much money they're losing? The other athletes aren't feeling it because they have contracts. But the owners are feeling it. The networks are feeling it. The NFL as a whole is feeling it. Yeah. So, yes, you lost all your money, Kaepernick, because of your mouth.
All right, so let's take a little twist here. I'm going to go back to something you said earlier about the protesting and all that. Right now, we have this new group called Antifa. And I forget the guy's name, but a gentleman on CNN called Antifa a widely recognized Black organization. Did you hear about that?
Yes, and it's okay. It's very hard to get on my nerves. I hate stupidity, and stuff like that is just pure stupidity. I've again, if you watch my YouTube videos, I have been in the midst of Antifa personally. I have talked with Antifa personally. It is just a bunch of millennial and Gen Z white boys and girls yelling at minorities that they're racist. It's the most ironic and Twilight Zone thing you will ever see in your life. If you ever have a chance to go to a protest or rally and Antifa's there, I recommend going because you get to see for yourself, with your own eyes, how it is. You know, Antifa is not an African-American like organization. Just because they dress in all black. I don't know if does he think they're black because they dress in all black? Like, I don't understand. It's like, oh, they dress in all black as a representation for Black people. I don't know if he knows how it works. It's called Black Bloc, which is a communist, measure that they do. The Antifa is very communist in nature. They're violent. They attack people. They halt free speech and whatnot. But it's just statements like that. It's like, how ignorant can you be? Like, how ignorant can you be to the point where it's no longer ignorance? It's just blatant stupidity.
Oh, yeah. You know what I think happened? I think that the Black Lives Matter crew wasn't getting it done. They need something a little bit more radical. So there's been a transfer of funding to Antifa. And when he announces that Antifa is a widely recognized Black organization, what I'm thinking is this. They're actually now going to make Antifa a Black organization. They're going to actively recruit Black people to get involved in Antifa and transform it into, or at least the face of it. They're going to make the face of it widely known or widely viewed as a Black organization. I think we'll see that with the midterms, and then, as the Black Death versus, cops thing is going to become popular again next summer and the summer after into next election. So I think that's what's going to happen. That's my theory behind this whole thing. What do you think about that?
I mean, Black Lives Matter does show up. So when you have these events like Patriot Prayer in Portland that I went to, they were all, protesting Joy Gibson, the Proud Boys and whatnot. Antifa, of course, is going to show up because they hate the Proud Boys. But they're being told that these are white supremacist KKK people showing up. So you better believe that Black Lives Matter, these feminists, social justice warriors, Antifa, they all show up and they work as a unit. First of all, Antifa is funded by George Soros. All these extreme left-wing, radical organizations are all funded by George Soros. They're all funded by the same people. So you have, Black Lives Matter shows up, or people who affiliate themselves with Black Lives Matter. And it might not even be like Black Lives Matter, it's specific, like the organizations, like their leaders are showing up. But you have people who they affiliate themselves with Black Lives Matter. They'll wear the shirts, they'll go out and whatnot. And then you have these weird social justice warrior feminists who also show up with their pink hair, pink, blue, green hair and whatnot. And they all work together and form this giant mob. So when you go, and if you like, that's why I recommend going, because you can see it for yourself. From afar, they all look like Antifa because they all kind of just dress in black, you know. But when you go in, you kind of see, okay, these are the black bloc Antifa, the ones who wear the masks. Not everyone wears masks, but those are black bloc. And then you have like kind of normal Antifa who they're still dressed in black, but they don't care about their face being showed. And then you have the white allies. I love the white allies. These are the people who wear the Black Lives Matter shirts, or white lives need to support Black lives. The social justice warriors, the feminists, the anti-fascists and whatnot. They wear all these kind of designs. And when you're in the midst, you can kind of see them specifically, the different groups. So I think that's why people, you know, the way in this, again, the mainstream media is terrible. The way they show Antifa as this group of people that just are protesting anti-fascism or protesting fascism and white supremacy and KKKs and whatnot. That's not what's happening. These are just a bunch of angry white millennials dressed in all black attacking minorities. And it's amazing.
Man, first of all, I just want to say thank you for that education on Antifa. A lot of that stuff I didn't know about. So, and I think people in the chat will appreciate that. People watching this will appreciate that. So great info for somebody that's actually on the ground at some of these protests, which I never happen to go to, but I plan on going to one day. As we begin to wind down here, I just want to talk about TPUSA really quick. I know you were added to our chat, and you've been communicating with, the crew. How'd you find out about TPUSA? How did you get involved in that? Tell me about that and what you like about TPUSA.
Yeah, so I mean, I think I found out about TPUSA the same way everyone else has, you know, online. Charlie Kirk demolishing socialist Candace Owens, you know, demolishing, you know, social justice warriors and whatnot. So Joel Patrick, actually, 1776, actually invited me to the group on Instagram. And then just been in the works talking with everyone there. I really love the organization. I love the way, you know, I was gonna say I love the way Candace Owens thinks, kind of trademark Kanye West. But yeah, it's TPUSA is doing a lot of things that I don't think other conservative organizations is doing, which is reaching out to the Black community. I was kind of talking about this on my Instagram earlier this past week, is that communities need to be involved in other communities. I think a lot of times, a lot of issues with conservatism is that while they believe in people being free and free thinking and, you know, living their individual lives, they also don't believe in intruding in other people's lives, which is fine to a point. You know, there has to be a point where you have to reach out into a different community. So that's why, I mean, the majority of the nation is white, which is fine. Like no one, like I don't have a problem with that. You don't have a problem with that. But there is an aspect of you have, and you know this, the Black community has a lot of ignorance, has a lot of problems with not knowing things. And that's only going to persist if that majority of free thinkers isn't reaching out. So right now, the majority of free thinkers happens to be white people. You know, so those people need to reach out into the communities. And I think it's great that Charlie is partnering with Candace and Brandon and us, whatnot, to reach out to this community, because it's important, you know. And it's funny because a lot of people, first of all, they don't know what identity politics is, because they say, oh, you guys need to stop using identity politics. We're not using our skin color as leverage. You know, we're not using it as, oh, because I'm Black, you need to listen to me. We're using it in a different sense where we're trying to reach out to our communities. You know, it's like, I don't ignore, you know, skin color. I know I'm Black. I'm looking at you right now. You're Black. I'm not like, oh, you're Black? What? Like some conservatives like to act like that. It's like skin color doesn't matter. It's like, yeah, skin color doesn't matter, but don't be stupid and ignore it's like someone's race, because behind every race is a culture. You know, and behind every culture determines how people live their lives. So you see there's a lot of things go wrong within the Black community, not because of the color of the skin, but because of the culture. So there's a lot of, I don't know if you've heard this analogy of the Black grandma that passed away because of, you know, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, whatnot.
Oh yeah.
Because like, you know, every Thanksgiving or family reunion, they would eat all these different types of foods and whatnot. Yep. And the grandma ended up passing away because food, yeah, the soul food. And in remembrance of the grandma, what did they do? They ate the very same foods that killed the grandma.
That killed grandma.
You know? Yeah. And it's like, wait, we're not going to learn. We're not going to say, hey, maybe we shouldn't eat this food. And that's how the Black community is right now. It's like, hey, like, you know, there's all these things that's hurting the Black community, but we're going to keep going and voting Democrat, even though it's hurting the Black community. And TPUSA is really counterbalancing that. They're saying, hey, you know, don't be afraid to think freely. Don't, like, me personally, not saying that you have to be conservative, but you don't have to be Democrat either. You know, so a lot of Black people think, oh, I'm not going to be conservative, so I have to be Democrat. You know, and I know TPUSA is doing a lot of things in the really near future. I know you know what I'm talking about. Planning to reach out more within the Black community. They have the Young Black Leadership Conference in October,
25th to the 27th. I'll be there. Will you be there?
I will be there as well. If anyone has not signed up yet, I'm pretty sure signups are still open, right?
tpusa.com/YBLS.
Yep, I would advise if you're a Black individual, signing up so you can go.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You said that you're not using your Blackness, your Black token card, your Black card to gain some advantage or privilege. Would you deny the fact that you do have visibility for being enigmatic because you are a Black conservative?
I wouldn't deny that. I acknowledge the fact that when I talk about specific topics, people will listen to me because I'm Black. But I don't think that's on my end. I think it's on their end. I think it's like we're at a point where everything is so polarized that to me, being Black is an advantage in specific topics because people view that as, oh, he's Black. He's from the Black community, so he knows and whatnot. But it's like, if you talk to me, like, I didn't grow up in the ghetto. Like, I'm Nigerian. I grew up African. You know, I didn't grow up Black. You know, but just because of the color of my skin, people will listen to me. So I think I won't deny it, but I don't think it's ideal. But it's kind of like, you know, playing their own game. You know, the left created this game. We're going to play it. But my goal is to one day destroy that game, to destroy it and say, hey, we need to create a new game where that's not, you know, it's going to be.
What about the fact that we can say things that white people on the right can't say? And so they use us as a voice to speak for them sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's okay depending on the circumstance, you know? So I think that's when people get confused on identity politics. The left uses our skin color as a leverage for votes or sympathy to, you know, oh, I don't want to be racist, so I need to have, you know, Black people around me, you know? Hillary Clinton having Beyonce, you know, sing one of her, you know, rallies, stuff like that. While the right is using... And again, I don't like the terminology, but the right is using Blacks not as leverage, but saying, hey, you know, there are Black people who don't think like that. You know, it's more of awareness. You know, the right is using Blacks for more of awareness, while the left is using Blacks more as, you know, leverage, more in a slave-like manner than anything else. Because me and you, we're free thinkers in the aspect of, I chose to be conservative because of things I believed. I'm not just being a conservative just because. While Blacks on the left, typically, they're Democrat because they don't know any better, you know?
Great point. Great point. Shout out to Brett Budd for the super chat. He sent me 1111. I love the numerology on that. Ganja in moderation fun, HJ. I appreciate you, Brent Budd. Michael, thank you very much for coming on here today. I really appreciate you. Tell the people where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram and YouTube. It's the official Black Mic. So it's Black Microphone, not my name, Michael, but it's double entendre, play on words. So Black Microphone, MIC. Follow me on Instagram. You could send me a DM, say you found me through this Google Hangouts, through this live video chat. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Great chat. I think I learned a lot. The people learned a lot. And I'll see you in October at the Black Festival with TPUSA, man.
Yes.
All right. Bless up, yo.
Thank you.